Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Hi, everybody there. Welcome to Safety Wars for Thursday, August 27th, 2026. What's going on out there? I hope that you are having a great and safe day. As you can see, I'm on the road. I'm recording from the same place in, we'll just say deep within OSHA Region 1. We'll say that. Wacky type of stuff going on out there in the world. I mean, what's this thing? First it was Gulf of America, and then last week someone said the Strait of America in the Middle East instead of the Straits or Hormuz, and now it's Lake Ontario? Really? Anyway, last night on the show we talked about simple sabotage from World War II. From World War II and what the OSS put out, which became eventually CIA, and then they declassified all these documents. I don't know if they were classified. How did they get them to the people in Europe? I don't know, during World War II. But they did classify them, and I was having a conversation with a C-suite person today on this, and I sent him a copy of the relevant section, which was the last section that talks about organizations, companies. They could be charities, they could be different organizations, how you would do that, how what would apply to that. I said, you know what, let me put a PowerPoint presentation together and we'll talk about it, and that's what we're going to do. But first, let's go on over to FSN Radio News, and then we will go and set this up.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. The death toll from catastrophic flash flooding in Nepal has now risen to more than 350 people, with over 1,300 people still missing. That includes more than 700 foreign nationals from 32 different countries. The disaster was triggered when a magnitude 4.4 earthquake caused a glacial collapse near the Tibet border, sending a wall of water through various river systems. More than 1,500 armed personnel have been deployed for search and rescue, as FSN's Rebecca Bundan reports from the Nepalese capital of Kathmandu.
Night has fallen here in Nepal, and that's making those rescue operations, which are continuing, all the more difficult, and it is a race against time. We know that there are hundreds of people who are still unaccounted for, including tourists, workers, and residents too. The Red Cross estimates that some 10,000 families may have been left without homes.
Meanwhile, climate and public policy expert Sunil Achaya in Kathmandu says it's unlike anything he's seen before.
The flood then flowed through the Bureaucracy river in the Nepal side and entered into another river downstream, which caused massive amount of devastations. We've seen such events happening and rising scale of such events over the years, but this is unprecedented in terms of the impact it has caused. And there is possibly the glacial lake outburst that triggered it, which the lakes are in Tibet.
Qatar's Prime Minister has held talks with Iran's Foreign Minister in Tehran as part of efforts to de-escalate the conflict between the US and Iran. Outgoing White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has told Fox News that all options remain on the table for the US, including the use of force, with carrier strike groups deployed to the region, and economic measures to try and force a deal with Iran. A preliminary report into a fire in Pakistan that killed 14 newborn babies at Islamabad's main hospital now says that an exploding nebulizer, not an air conditioning unit, is to blame. FSN's Hira Mustafa sends this report from Islamabad.
So far, investigators are looking at the exact cause of the blaze, as earlier claims suggest that due to an electrical fault, the air conditioning compressor exploded, due to which the fire erupted at the third floor of the hospital building at the child and maternity ward. But authorities are saying that needs to be fully established yet. The investigators are also examining whether the fire safety arrangement at the hospital was adequate enough.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, the politics of Dolly Parton, the Queen of Country Music, who died on Tuesday at the age of 80. It is rare today for any figure in the United States to attract the respect of fans from across the political spectrum. So how did she do it? Well, ostensibly by never nailing her political colours to her mast.
I write my songs about that sort of thing. You'll find me and my opinions, in a lot of the songs. But most of it's based on love and acceptance and lifting people up.
No political rallies for you then?
No political rallies for me. I think my joke is that my daddy was a Republican, my mom was a Democrat, and I'm a hypocrite.
By which, of course, she meant that, like a doctor, she believed in the Hippocratic oath of doing no harm. As she said in that 2018 interview with her hometown's TV station in Tennessee, she didn't need to be avowedly political. She could simply puncture bigotry and intolerance by pointing out the obvious.
When someone blatantly asks you, do you think Black Lives Matter? Well, of course, Black Lives Matter. We're all God's children. We all have a place in this world. We all need to be loved and respected. I don't care if you're, like I say, black or white or whatever. I don't care if you're gay or lesbian or transgender. Everybody should have an equal chance.
Good luck to anyone who tried to argue with that. Tomorrow, the philanthropy of Dolly Parton still playing out worldwide. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again, the death toll from catastrophic flash flooding in Nepal has risen to more than 350, with over 1,300 people still missing. Qatar's Prime Minister has held talks with Iran's Foreign Minister in Tehran as part of efforts to de-escalate the conflict with the US. And a hospital report into a blaze in Pakistan that killed 14 newborn babies has now blamed an exploding nebulizer for causing the blaze. That's Feature Story News, Nick Harper reporting.
Simple sabotage. We talked about this last night. I wanted to go in depth in the last session of this. How saboteurs hide in plain sight at work. And let's remember, I would be lying if I said to anybody that I've never seen people deliberately sabotage things at work, whether they're safety or operations or anything else. And no, safety should be part of operation, but most organizations separate them out. I've seen it all over. I've seen safety sabotage operations sabotage safety, and everything else. So what do I always say? Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you know the strategies. Make sure you have things scripted and memorized. Because usually the people who plan things out have things scripted and memorized here. So, for example, when we talk about safety in the human organizational performance world, what do we talk about? Capacity and resilience. So whenever there's a question, how do we make this situation safer? What do you think my answer is right off the bat? We make things, well, how can we add capacity and how can we add resilience to this? Simple, simple, simple. So that's one of my go-tos here. And what's funny is when people start in a meeting or whatever, and someone comes up who's never really worked with me, doesn't know me, and says, okay, how do we make this safer? Someone is always bound to say, well, Jim is going to tell us capacity and resilience. How do we add capacity and resilience into this to make it safer? Real simple, real easy. way of going around it. So this is the uncomfortable premise of the entire manual. The manual shows how ordinary behavior can cripple production, and was intended to weaponize this kind of behavior to damage the Axis power, specifically Nazi Germany during World War II. So you do not have to destroy a machine to damage an organization. That's one of the primary things. You have three different ways of looking at this. You can have visible damage, meaning broken equipment, destroyed material, production stopped, and invisible damage, delay, confusion, and friction, and cultural damage, lowering morale, no trust, good people disengage from the process. So the lesson from the OSS, which was the forerunner of the CIA, friction can be a weapon. So how do we do general? So the section was in here, right? General interference with organizations and production. If you're following along with the publication. So organizations, what do you do? What's the point? Slow decisions through channels, speeches, committees, irrelevant issues, and reopened questions. Right? Managers, what do? They delay orders, misassign work, misroute or misroute, depending on where you're from, materials, multiply approvals, and reward the wrong behavior. Office workers, how do they sabotage your organization? Now, intentionally or unintentionally. Misfile, copy incorrectly, hold up mail, I would say delay email from being delivered now for the modern thing. Confuse names and addresses. Oh yeah, I sent that email, I sent that out, and it's the wrong address. Spread rumors with things, right? And as far as employees, those are simple. Work slowly, interrupt, ask unnecessary questions, and of course, withhold knowledge. And what do we talk about with human organizational performance? Our learning teams. How do we, how about our safety programs that rely on statistics? Well, we're just not going to record near misses, good catches, or even injuries in some cases, because we don't want to go through this because it's a freaking nightmare to manage. You're being unreasonable. You're going to be in the shame, the blame, and the retrain area, right? With that. So you have somebody who's in the business maybe 2 years doing safety, right out of college, 23, 24 years old, trying to tell a 55-year-old person, well, you don't know what you're doing. This is not how you do it anymore. How's that going to go over? How's that going to go over with safety with that, right? So what happens? They don't give you information. That's what happens. So meaning sabotage. Paralysis through procedures could also go as paralysis through analysis. That's another one. A meeting can look productive while preventing action. Sort of like that song from Led Zeppelin, Kashmir. The elders of a gentle race talking about when all things will be revealed, and then all of a sudden, what happens? The story was quite clear, but we couldn't repeat anything. What the hell was that meeting about? Yeah, so Led Zeppelin, right? Look it up, Kashmir. But anyway, how do you do this? You come out of a meeting, you're like, well, what the belief could I have done? Here, what do I do? What's my action item? What do I get out of this? The April 2018 memo from Elon Musk that went around and is still going around. Now, if you're not getting out of it, you can't contribute to it, why are you there? Right? So how do we do this? Long speeches and personal anecdotes. I'm guilty of this. Not that I'm trying to sabotage, but I have to catch myself here. Right? Long committees for further study. Hey, we're going to have to look at that at the next meeting. Oh, yeah, that thing. Irrelevant issues that derail focus. Are you worried about the menu on that safety luncheon? Or are you worried about the reason why you're having that safety luncheon? I saw somebody very well known back in the day in New Jersey. I worked with his son on another project. And, they talk about a half an hour on what the menu was for a luncheon or a breakfast. Debates over exact wording, and we may have to go into the truck here with this because we're getting thunder. Debates over exact wording, right? I was reading a study about a study in the mid-1950s from over in England where you had the aristocracy out there talking about the vocabulary, and everybody on the lower classes wanted to use big words. Aristocracy doesn't use big words, right? With that, reopening decisions already made. Hey, let's revisit that decision. Sometimes you have to revisit it, but every time, I don't know. Caution that prevents timely action. Hey, that's too dangerous. We got to be careful doing that. We can't do that. It's going to be, we're going to have an issue here, right? So what's the modern translation from 1994? When the meaning becomes the work, the real work stalls. And that's a red flag there, because oftentimes everyone talks about risk, but nobody reduces risk. Sort of like the weather. Everyone wants to talk about the weather. No one does anything about it, as the old joke goes. With that, everyone talks about risk, but nobody reduces it. So here we have bureaucracy as a weapon. Weaponized bureaucracy. Plausible paperwork can create real operational drag. Here's a sabotage pattern. Duplicate files, extra forms, more clearances. Hey, you're not allowed to do that. You don't have the clearance for it. You can't do that. That's out of your lane when it's really in your lane. That sort of thing. Multiple approvals. 3 approvals or 1 would do with that. Regulations applied without judgment. Another problem. So what's the question for safety? What hazard are we actually trying to control here? Are we trying to control liability, or are we going to try to control hazard? Control the hazard, you control liability. No, and with that. So paperwork can support controls, but it's not the control itself. I could easily put up the hierarchy of controls, and I got this idea from someone who used to be on the Safety FM network, where they have the hierarchy of controls, and that you have at the bottom circled less of this, and then on the top you have out in the bubble more of this. Right? I'm working on a presentation, and that's what I created today. Was that management sabotage, delay, misroute, and misassign. The manual focuses heavily on supervisors because they control flow. How do you do that? Delay orders, demand written orders. I would say this much: with the advent of email and text messages and electronic communication, we're doing more and more things by written orders, especially in the construction field. I'm noticing. Well, pretty much all the fields, because people are dishonest. So, hey, you want me to do that? Give it to me in writing. No problem. I use the example of the COVID rules that we got to experience. Misunderstand whatever you're doing, right? Ask endless questions. Gum up the works. Wait until stock is almost gone, then make shortages shut down. This is why I always say in our leadership presentation, always have your own stuff. Or I'm saying rules for radicals. Always have your own stuff. How many times do you think I went into a meeting and they really weren't interested in safety, and what did they do? They take all of the dry erase markers. So what do you have? You have dry erase markers. Oh, the projector's not working, Dave. We can't get it work. Oh, no problem. I got my own projector. Now, with that, assign badly. Put important jobs on poor machines or with inefficient workers. In other words, weaponize incompetence. Right? Damage morale. Reward poor performers. Criticize efficient workers unfairly. And, promote the incompetent. Right? And then the good people and keep in the field. Right? People who have management, put them in the field. Keep them in the field. So what happens? Performance stops mattering, and that is direct cultural damage, and it's harder to break, harder to repair than a broken machine. Cultural damage takes years. In my experience, unless outside of a major, like catastrophic situation, it takes years to recover from that situation. There, 3 to 5 years, my experience, for a cultural shift. How about the office sabotage? Small errors with big consequences. The desk can slow the field. Again, a lot of this, 1944, some of it applies, some of it doesn't apply. Some of it has taken new forms. Copy quantities wrong, transcription errors, confuse similar names. Use wrong addresses, we mentioned that. Misfile essential documents. Ever lose something on a SharePoint or a cloud service? Yeah, good luck in recovering it. That's why they have, the organizations I work with, they have a strict file naming system. Make one too few copies. Well, yeah, back in the day when we made copies, but maybe if you have handouts, you have 15 people, but give them 14 handouts. Hold up calls and mail. Right? Again, that's dated a little bit, but not really. Spread rumors that sound like inside info. Yeah, disinformation. So one credible rumor can outrun every official message. So we have that, right? Email, Teams, text, Slack, social media, any of those things. With that, and be careful because that's all tracked. Employee sabotage, friction at the task level. Most of it looks like, and we've all heard of that, this is just how we do the job. This is the way we've always done it, which is always very dangerous in the safety industry. So what do? Work slowly. Add unnecessary movement. Use the wrong tool for the job and take extra steps. It's also unsafe. Right? How do you make it unsafe? Use the wrong tools. Do unnecessary things. Unnecessary things mean more chance to get hurt. Interrupt flow. Here we go. Number 2. Forget tools. Take needless time changing materials. Measure too often. Misunderstand. Ask for repeated instructions or unnecessary clarifications with things. Blame the tools. Do poor work and make equipment the excuse. I didn't have the right computer. I didn't have the right software. I didn't have this. Maybe true, but does this always happen? Hoard knowledge. How many times did that happen? My understanding is that, well, I've worked with a lot of people from the East. This is part of their culture sometimes, but it also applies here where they don't tell you everything. They skip key steps, key information in this. Hoard knowledge. So I always tell the story about, personal anecdotes, right? Be careful of them. So here's a personal anecdote. I had somebody said to me, well, Jim, I don't want to send, and this is where context matters. Jim, I don't want to send this person a holiday card. I haven't heard from this person in years, right? I know that they're still around, but I haven't heard from them in years. I don't think I'm going to be, contacting this person. I said, well, I would find out about the person. I said, first, what their situation is, maybe they're sick, maybe they're this, and but if you don't hear back from them, I wouldn't send them the card. This. And what do you think the next question was? The next comment was, you don't want me to send a card to someone who's dying in a nursing home? Message sent, message received. It's like, no, I didn't say that. I said, figure it out, right? What the person's doing. Again, critical information on that. Not all sabotage is logistical. Some of it's emotional. Lowering morale and creating confusion, right? Long, incomprehensible explanations. So someone gives you this explanation that's convoluted, that doesn't make any sense. Gives you the wrong information during a accident or incident investigation. Acting stupid. Being irritable, quarrelsome, misunderstanding rules, and a constant complainer. So confusion. People stop knowing what matters. Distrust. People stop believing the system is fair. And withdrawal. Good people stop investing the effort. When morale is a control surface. That's definitely a thing. Lower morale. So here we go. We should never, modern organizations can accidentally reproduce sabotage behaviors. We should never confuse bureaucracy with safety, putting in a system with safety. A procedure, form, signature, or meeting is only valuable when it helps people recognize hazards, understand risk, make decisions, and do the work successfully. That's what the bottom line is here. So, what's one of the questions you ask? Okay, we put in this new procedure, we're starting all this paperwork. It may reduce liability and say, oh, I told you so, I told you so. Shame on you, blame the worker. Another way to blame the worker, blame the people. But the question needs to happen is this, and I know we have to cover liabilities, well, I get it, right? Does this actually reduce the risk that we are encountering in the field? So some of the red flags here. The meeting is the work. Lots of discussion, no decision. People say, where the hell was I? And this could have been done with an email or text. Or Teams meeting, Teams, type thing, right? Approval inflation. Signatures multiply without risk reduction. Knowledge is hoarded and experience does not transfer downward. The Veterans Administration is having that situation right now. I got off the phone with someone right now because people are being overruled by computers and AI in the system. So there's been an enormous brain and experience drain at a VA facility that I'm familiar with. Procedures beats purpose. People know the form, but they don't know what the hazards are. They didn't, I'll pencil whip this form. Screw it, I don't know what's going on outside, right? Decisions reopen endlessly. Settled items never stay settled. No, I was on a project recently, and I was with a C-level person, and somebody came up again with a question. And I said, how is this person continuing asking the question? They said, look, just tell them this is what it is. This is the answer. They don't like it, they could work somewhere else. Well, that's a little harsh, but they're like, they're wasting your time. They're sabotaging. I said, this is what gave me the talk here, right? Rumors fill the vacuum. So when there's no trusted official channel, rumors will fill that vacuum there with that. So what's our final thought here? Some behaviors recommended for sabotage can appear naturally, organically, inadvertently. If the OSS recommended it to slow an enemy organization, why do we tolerate it inside our own? So good safety systems reduce friction where possible and add controls when necessary. And this is Safety Wars, and my name is Jim Polzel.
Suit up, soldier, time for war. Safety's now our battle core. Guard the workers' shields up high. Never let their spirits die. On the front lines every day, dangers lurking, come what may. Protect our team, we stand so tall. Safety first, we'll never fall. Raise the banner, hear the call. Safety wars, we give our all. Warriors, our job site strong. Safety's where we all belong.
So I had to reconvene inside my truck here. So we got rain, we got thunder, we got everything. So again, sorry about that. Don't have a appropriate place to what's word am I looking for? I don't have an appropriate place to go this week, so this is what it is here. But I'm out here and I'm doing it. I am doing it. So let's get on over to the news. More news here with this. All right. Got my bearings here with this. All right, so a lot of news today. Now, this is from the Wall Street Journal. I believe this is more of an opinion piece here than anything. Republican efforts to prosecute Fauci for contempt are hitting a wall. Some administration officials are skeptical whether current approach is procedurally sound enough to indict a retired public health official. A Republican push to prosecute Dr. Fauci for contempt of Congress has stalled as the Trump administration questions whether the legal approach supports an indictment by the Justice Department. 3 weeks after a GOP-led Senate committee voted to hold Fauci in contempt of Congress, some administration officials are skeptical that the current approach is procedurally sound enough to indict him for failing to answer questions before lawmakers, according to people familiar with the situation. Well, we'll see how this pans out. Here's another one here. And by the way, I have a lot of inside information on this one from a listener. I can't share it with on this story. FAA found LaGuardia air traffic controllers left work early before the deadly collision. The agency is moving to fire 2 controllers who left about an hour before the shift ended. FAA officials have found that 2 air traffic controllers left work early before an Air Canada regional jet crashed into a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport in March. And the FAA is moving to fire the 2 controllers who officials determined had left an hour. Okay, so this is my question. They're going to fire them. Is that going to really address the issue? The structural issue with the FAA with that? Again, that's a question. Now, what's our point here? Are we out to correct issues, correct problems? Or are we out to get, quote-unquote, get people? Maybe completely appropriate to fire people. I don't know what the context is. But are we really, really solving a problem when we just fire people? I mean, Todd Conklin gave a talk at the symposium we were at last month, right down in Orlando, where it caused people were doing a job well for months and months and years at a time. There was a foul up that wasn't even their mistake. They all got fired. It's like, really? Let's find out what happened, and then let's take appropriate action, which might include that. However, usually that's not the good action because these are the people that know how to do the job. White House construction, and this is also from the New York Times, White House construction may have contributed to a close call with Trump's helicopter. A controller let a jet take off after missing warnings that a Marine One was about to fly through the area. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, that's the NTSB. Construction at the White House may have contributed to an incident this month in which the president's helicopter came dangerously close to a commercial jet over Washington. If we recall, we recently had a plane crash in Washington where a U.S. Army helicopter struck a passenger jet, right here. According to the report, work to build a new ballroom at the White House forced officials to move the helicopter's takeoff location temporarily from the South Lawn to the Ellipse, the park south of the White House. But the new location may have been less optimal for communicating with air traffic controllers, leading to communication glitches. Technicians conducted a coverage analysis and determined that there was not adequate line of sight to ensure communications. Now what do we learn from this? This is actually a very, very important point that we have here. One of them is how many times we use radios out there on our projects, and the radios don't give us coverage, right? With that. Right? Okay, what else we got here? Trump Pentagon secretly amassing a troll army as a report exposes the scandal of the century. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has quietly assembled an online army of influencers, including some who work for the Pentagon or have nearly landed jobs there, according to a new report. It came to light this week that Jenica Pounds, a right-wing influencer, better known as Data Republican on X, has worked as a temporary Pentagon special government employee since July. The Defense Department confirmed her employment but refused to explain what specific duties she does. So Pounds appears to, and this is a story from MSN, Eric de la Garza. The Defense Department confirmed. So basically, the Bulwark's Will Summers told readers that the Defense Secretary's MAGA influencer allies are merely cheering him on. Some work for him. Okay. Secret Service spokesman is put on leave. This is from the Washington Post. Today, a story by Isaac Arnsdorf. Secret Service spokesman is put on leave amid an investigation. The agency said two other non-law enforcement employees were also suspended in an unspecified job, a misconduct probe. Secret Service put its chief spokesman and two other non-enforcement employees on administrative leave in a misconduct investigation. The incident is being investigated by the agency's Office of Professional Responsibility with that. All right, and you know what? I got to move again here. I'm getting waved away. Hold on. All right. Hopefully they'll leave me alone here, right? This has been an unusual episode here. AI writing has become, and this is from Semaphore, exclusive. AI writing has already begun to appear on opinion pages. Already? We've been watching this for years here. You know, where things were on the pages of the newspaper that are obviously written by a computer. How do you know? Syntax. In the old days, it was syntax, grammar, repetition, clarity. All this stuff was, all this stuff was out there. Where it just didn't make sense what I'm reading here. Now, according to this, the article is from The Scoop. I don't know who the author is here. And so here it is. According to this, right? The New York Times, out of guest op-eds. So this is based on Pangram analysis, 310 op-eds published this year from July 27th till Tuesday. Labels reflect the share of each article. So here we had 108 articles that were written, guest op-eds written by a human being, 11 written by a mixed of AI and human, and 1% AI. 1 AI, totally. The Washington Post, 81 actual human being, 13 and 4 from AI. The Wall Street Journal, 71, 16, and 5 there. So with that, it's along the lines of AI is now driving opinion rather than being used as a tool to actually go and develop opinion, right? With that. Here we have from the Hollywood Reporter, intense Six Flags coaster closed after two riders suffered brain hemorrhages. It's got to stop. Quote, Magic Mountain's fan favorite extreme coaster X2 has been quietly closed since July after two riders had similar accidents, and a new report uncovered history of injuries. This is sort of like, I hope it's not as bad as Action Park, whereas the Class Action Park. I know people when I was a kid that got hurt there real serious. According to a CNN investigation, two women who rode the X2 coaster 6 days apart both lost consciousness and ended up in surgery with similar brain hemorrhages of a type that's typically associated with a high-speed collision. 3 neurosurgeons who treated the women declared in an email that severe brain injuries requiring emergent neurosurgical attention were a result of traumatic rapid acceleration-deceleration event experienced while on the X2 ride. I mean, this is why I test drove a Tesla a couple of weeks ago. The guy jammed on I wasn't driving. The guy jammed on the thing, and I was sick for 2 days. There. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I could ever own one of those cars. Here we have a GLP-1 substitute. This is from Study Finds, research led by Anders Nair, University of California, and reviewed by Patricia Antoneros. An oral compound called TOFA caused significant weight and fat loss in obese mice without reducing food intake or causing muscle. That's exactly what I need there, setting it apart from current obesity drugs. TOFA worked by boosting how much energy cells burn rather than suppressing an appetite. It also improved blood sugar. Yeah, I believe it, because it's burning more energy, more glucose is being used. Harmful blood fats and fatty liver diseases. When combined with GLP-1, TOFA outperformed outperformed either drug alone. In other words, there was a synergistic or an additive effect. And animals maintained their weight loss longer after TOFA treatment ended, versus the GLP-1s. So, not American enough. This is from the Atlantic magazine by Toulouse. I just read them. I don't advocate things either way. By Toulouse Olorunipa. Interesting name. I wonder what the etymology is. So, this article was in the Atlantic magazine. For Carlos Alaman, the pinnacle of a dozen years since he became a U.S. citizen, signed in 2020 when he was elected to serve on the City Council of Homewood, Alabama. One of the lowest moments came earlier this year when he learned that some of the most powerful people in his state are attempting to ban immigrants from pursuing higher office. It seems to be part of a project to reject anyone who's not born in this country as not worthy of deserving full rights as a citizen. Alamein, who was born in Nicaragua, said. I mean, in the past, as I recall, according to the Constitution, for president, you have to be born in this country and 35 years old. No other real requirements there until the 21st Amendment was passed, where you could be removed from office by your cabinet. And as far as the lower offices in the federal system, there were residency requirements for the state and for presumably residency requirements for the state and for the district you're in. But my understanding, unless they change the law, you do not even have to be a resident of the state to serve as a congressperson or senator. Because why is that? You may be spending all your time in Washington and not meet residency requirements for your state. Yeah, I don't know how often that's been pressed, but I've heard it from good sources, attorneys, when I was involved in politics. Here we go. China deploys a record number of ships around Taiwan. Stories from yesterday. China deployed a record number of Coast Guard, scientific research, and other ships in Taiwan's waters last month. The island's Coast Guard told AFP as Beijing dials up pressures on Taipei. This article is from AFP, and, we're in there. They're doing it there. Where are we? We are at 44 minutes after the hour, so, all right. I don't know. Things going down over there. Something's going on. Again, U.S. weapon shortages are out there, are the order of the day. We pointed this out, even before there was the safety wars, we pointed this out, because the smelters all went out of business for lead. They're not used anymore, so we're short on ammunition. We had huge ammunition purchases by the federal government all through the 2010s by the Obama administration. So why are we surprised that we have a U.S. munitions shortage? One facility I worked at was a rocket fuel plant in southern San Jose, California. the former Pratt & Whitney, it's no longer there. They had a catastrophic incident there that I can't go into. And what happened? The firefighters came up. Right behind it, all the activists came up to close the place down. And guess what? They were successful on that. So that all stuff like that, little things that don't seem like they matter, that don't seem like they're connected, do matter sometimes. And here we have more safety issues. Sorry for the pitter-patter of the rain here. The Washington Post, again, they confided in ChatGPT. Their secrets ended up in court. Post found a dozen examples of chatbot conversations being swept into criminal and civil legal proceedings. So be careful about what you put into that stuff. Right? Big Tobacco turns to more potent nicotine patches in battle for U.S. Small but fast-growing segment seen as the growth as it gains greater acceptance from regulators. Big Tobacco is pushing into higher-strength nicotine packages in the U.S. as part of an intensifying battle for dominance. Now, I heard about this 20 years ago, where Big Tobacco, and I heard this from an industry insider, Big Tobacco was didn't care about cigarettes. They cared about nicotine packages, and other delivery systems with this. So if you think this is something new going on, not new at all, guys. Most patches in the U.S. have historically had between 3 milligrams, 6 milligrams of the addictive stimulant, but sales of more potent versions are growing much faster than broader category, now account for 17% of volumes, according to Stifel's analyst Matt Smith. Stronger versions of a drug. Wow, we're shocked. We're shocked. Stronger versions of a drug. Now, here we have something from the New York Post in the archaeology department. The true tomb of Jesus Christ found after 2,000 years and matches the biblical retelling. I thought they already found it, or they had a good idea about what it is. And here it goes. It was a long time second coming. Pithy saving it there. After years of searching, Italian archaeologists have discovered an ancient site that matches the Bible description of where Jesus Christ is buried. Her preliminary study in Jerusalem Archaeological Journal Liber Annus, or Liber Annus, right? We have found evidence of a funerary landscape, right? According to lead archaeologist Francesca Romana Sassola. The researchers have been excavating Jerusalem's Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a 4th century Roman church that was built over a holy site where many Christians believe Christ was crucified, buried, and resurrected on Easter Sunday. As a result, it became a mecca for religious pilgrims from across the world, attracting around 4 million visitors per year. During the final phases of the excavations in 2025, they began 3 years prior during floor restoration. The team found a peculiar landscape that suggests they might be onto something. Underneath the church was an abandoned quarry, cultivated plots of land, rock-cut tombs, and an ancient garden. Coincidentally, the book of John describes at the place where Jesus was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb, which was never used. While no one had been found in the tomb, the abundance of parallels were nonetheless compelling. And they have other stuff there. I don't know if they're even going to, I don't know if they're even going to be able to prove it one way or another with that. I mean, I don't know. So there's been a lot of talk on why there was a secret meeting with this in Russia this week here. But according to the Telegraph.co.uk, CIA chief warned Putin against an attack on NATO personally. U.S. intelligence suggests Russian president may escalate the conflict by launching land incursion on the alliance's eastern flank. Okay, now, here we have, I mean, this is, I don't even know what to say here on this one. This is, other than I've been laughing for a couple of hours over this here. So here we have, on the White House website. And I hate it because I had this open. Here, give me a second here, folks. Now, this is the actual presidential order here. And we're probably going to finish up with this since we're at 51 minutes after the hour. And this is the actual, hey, I could save that. I could, right? Can I do this? All right. I guess not. Sorry, folks. All right, yes, I can. Look at that. We're learning all different types of things, learning and improving here. So this honoring the American history of the Great Lakes and renaming Lake Ontario as Lake America. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered I guess I'm not on the screen, right? And hereby ordered, as I announced the Executive Order 14172 of January 2025, restoring names that honor American greatness is a policy of my administration to recognize the extraordinary contributions of the American people, right? And the rich heritage of our history by naming great natural landmarks of our shared achievements. The United States is the greatest protector of the Great Lakes, including the body of water currently known as Lake Ontario. Without the security and investment provided by the United States, this freshwater system would not be open for shipping, recreation, and responsible use to the same extent as it is today. The United States Coast Guard supplies 9 of the 11 ice-breaking vessels on the Great Lakes, securing commercial shipping lanes free of charge. The United States has invested nearly $4 billion in protecting the Great Lakes freshwater ecosystem the last decade, while Canada has invested far less in similar initiatives. Probably because they don't pollute as much. I don't know. Maybe. The body of water currently known as Lake Ontario and its tremendous asset to the United States as part of our nation's heritage from the deepest parts of the lake's waters lying within United States territory. The United States claims most of the lake's volume. The lake has long been an integral asset to America's exploration, settlement, commerce, and defense. And it goes on and on and on about commerce. So within 30 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of the Interior shall, in coordination with the Board of Geographic Names and consistent with 43 U.S.C. 364 through 364F, take all appropriate actions to rename as Lake America the body of water currently named Lake Ontario, bounded on the south and the east by the state of New York, named as Lake Ontario, bounded to the south and east of the state of New York, and the north and west and southwest by Canadian province of Ontario. I don't know. He knows how to piss people off. I mean, I think I had to laugh for a couple of Lake. Now, this has been in the ether for about the last week and a half. Renaming it Lake America? Okay, we'll go for it. I know I was talking with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and I had mentioned the Gulf of America, and they got all bent out of shape. I said, I don't know, that's what they call it. They're allowed to change names of things, I guess. Anyway, that's what I have for everyone today, and we're going to, end it right here. I might put in some filler at the end, but I think that's a good ending point.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.